Hey, what's up guys? Matt here with Fix Anything Save Money. Today we're going to be showing you how to tune up this Bolens BL160 trimmer. So we're going to be showing you how to change the spark plug, how to change the air filter and the fuel filter. I do have a video up already on how to replace the carburetor. So if your trimmer isn't running correctly or if it's starting and stalling, be sure to check that video out. I'm going to put a link right there. This video is strictly just your basic yearly tune-up, so we'll dive right into this. First, we're going to replace the air filter, and if you look over on this side of the cover, you can see a little tab. You're just going to press that tab in while you kind of pull this out, and then that releases that door. And then this door, you could just pull straight out this way, and it comes off those hinges. And then here's your air filter. And all I like to do with these is either replace it with a new one or wash this out with Dawn and hot water and let it dry on a windowsill. And then we're just going to put it back in like that. Hook it back on here. And then just close the door and you'll hear it click into place. So that's how you would change the air filter. Now we'll get into the spark plug. So the spark plug on this machine is located right here. But first we need to remove this cap. Sometimes these caps pull off easily by hand. Other times you need to kind of take a screwdriver and pry underneath this piece of rubber to just get it kind of started. And that exposes the actual spark plug. So now to remove the spark plug, we're going to be using this 5/8 inch deep socket and ratchet. And we're just going to rotate this way. And then once you kind of get it a little bit loose, you can just remove it by hand. And then you would just put your new spark plug in, rotating it clockwise like this. Okay, and then we're going to tighten it back down. I don't like to go too crazy tightening these because you can strip them out, you can break them. So I like to go just a little bit more than hand tight. And then we're just going to replace our cap. Push down, you usually hear a little click when you get it seated into place. Okay, so now we have our spark plug changed, we have our air filter changed, and now we're going to go ahead and show you how to replace the fuel filter. And this is a very good time to inspect your fuel lines leading up into your carburetor. Make sure there's no dry rot, make sure it's not leaking anywhere. These like to leak right where they go down into the tank, so make sure there's no fuel leaking anywhere. Okay. So now to replace the fuel filter, we're just going to, if you have a full tank of gas, I recommend, just to be safe, empty out the gas into an oil catch pan or something like that, just so you're not spilling gas all over the place. So we're just going to remove this cap and then just this little stopper so you could see in here. So what we're after right now is that black line attached to the fuel filter. You might need to get in there with a pair of needle nose. I could usually reach in with my finger and kind of snag that line and pull it out. But also just take note of your fuel line placement. So you could see your black fuel line right here leads up into the back of the carburetor. That's your fuel line. That's what takes fuel out of the tank, primes the carburetor, and then any excess fuel dumps out of this yellow line right here in the front of the carburetor. So the line closest to the priming bulb is your fuel discharge. It just empties any excess fuel in the carburetor back into the tank, and then the black line actually sucks the fuel out. Okay, so we'll just show you real quick what the fuel filter looks like and how to remove it. So like I said, you just kind of could reach in there with your finger like so. And just kind of pull that filter out like that. So here's our fuel filter. And this is where I like to take a very small flathead to pry this line off. So you would just start right at the base and just pry it off. Okay, so there's our fuel filter. Then we would put our new one back on, and you just want to get it seated fully up against the fuel filter. And then we're just going to push this back down into the tank. Then we're just going to fold that down, push it into our tank. Tighten our cap back down. Okay, so that pretty much sums up the basic yearly maintenance that I like to do on pretty much all of my machines. It just keeps them running great, keeps, you know, the engines lasting as long as humanly possible. And then we'll just go over the starting sequence real quick in case you don't know. So the starting sequence for this, you would push your choke all the way up to number 1. You would pull your handle, you know, 5 or 6 times. Or actually, first you would prime up your carburetor. So you would press this priming bulb about 5 times. Push this all the way forward. Pull your cord about, you know, 4 or 5 times, and you'll probably hear it like soft start and then stall right out. When that happens, flick it over to number 2. Pull it, and it should start and stay started and kind of like just be running a little bit rough idling. And then once it warms up for a little bit, click it over to number 3. And I like to still let it warm up for, you know, 30 seconds, a minute. Just let the engine warm up before you actually go ahead and use it. So that is how you tune up this Bolens BL160. Like I said, guys, I do have a video up on the carburetor replacement, so be sure to check that out if it is running rough still after your tune-up. So if this video helped you out, be sure to give it a like. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. I have a ton of other tool DIY videos on my channel. So yeah, guys, that pretty much sums this up. Oh, this is your on-off switch. So that would be on. And then when your engine is running, you want to turn it off, just switch it over to that. But make sure you have it back over here when you go to start it back up. So yeah, guys, that pretty much sums up this video. Let me know if you have any questions at all. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.